the war that I believe wants to break loose truly is an ushering in of World War III.
Joseph Z, it's great to have you back on Charisma News. And this time of year, we like to find out, what is God saying about the next year? So Joseph Z, what is it that God's speaking to you about the year 2024?
Well, John, first of all, I just want to say we love Charisma News. We love the organization, Charisma Magazine. Everything you guys do is so wonderful, so excellent. And I'm just privileged to be on your platform. Thank you for having me. And yes, regarding 2024, oftentimes prophetic people, they talk about the next year and put it in a box of 12 months. And I will talk about that, but it's always more of a season anyway. What's coming around the bend, what's coming around the corner. One of the big words I saw, John, for the coming year is the roar and the war in 24. The roar and the war. And in addition to that, I was praying about this broadcast actually. And as I was praying, I heard the word more. And I'm not normally a rhyming prophetic person, but I heard the war, the roar, and 24 more. This word more, I believe that God is going to give more to those who've been faithful with what he's given them. More is coming, like the parable of the talents, the parable of these things where one was given 1 all the way to 10, 5 turns to 10. And you recognize this whole thing that even the one who is not faithful with the 1 was given to the one who had the most. And I believe God is saying to those who are faithful are going to begin to have more. There's going to be more in 24. And I believe that's going to be under duress, under pressure, under difficulty. I think they're trying to bring a lot of very difficult things to the world. The spirit of Antichrist wants to do that. But man, I actually have a lot of things the Spirit of the Lord has spoken to me about with what's happening in this coming season. And I believe it's going to be a very powerful time. A lot of things, actually.
So you mentioned roar and war. So let's first talk about the war, because we're in a season where we've got the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, which that seems to be just about over for Ukraine. From the last things that I've been hearing, we've got, as we're recording this, there's currently a temporary ceasefire in Israel with Israel and Hamas. But we know that that's not going to last. So there's not just wars and rumors of wars. There is actual wars going on right now. And God spoke this to you. What else is God speaking about war?
Well, I'll say this first. Back on September 16th of 2023, I woke up early in the morning in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Spirit of the Lord began to minister 2 things to me. One, when I woke up while I was ministering there, John, I woke up, and when I woke up, I was no longer in Tulsa. It was a prophetic moment. It wasn't in reality, but I woke up in a visionary way. And I woke up in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the Lord said to me, what is happening in Vegas will not stay in Vegas. And I wasn't even aware of this, but at that exact time, there'd been a cyber hacking going on in Las Vegas that was in some casino or hotel, and they couldn't even get a handle on it. So they somehow settled the issue with the parties involved. They didn't resolve the actual hacking. And this cyber issue was breaking loose. They kind of put a lid on it just by compromising. And then he took me over and said, Israel, this is 3 weeks before the war broke out, Israel will march against their enemies, and it'll be an unprecedented thing and a new precedent for them. And I went live, and I declared this live on our broadcast that exact morning. So 3 weeks ahead of time, I said, Israel's going to march. And when I saw this, then the Lord began to minister to me about how the coming year, there'd be a war, there'd be these roar, all these things. And even our dear friend, Alan DiDio, had the same word about a war in 24. Yeah. So he and I have discussed that. But when we're looking at this, I really sense, John, that the cyber attack, that what happened in Vegas will not stay in Vegas. Now, this has happened in more places than just Vegas, but the Lord used that as a touchstone to say a word to me that I believe we're going to see unparalleled, unprecedented, almost cataclysmic cyber attacks that will come over the next season. And when that begins to happen, the Lord also said to me, but I will raise up a standard. I will bring deliverance. I will give people witty ideas to outdo this and come through it in a positive way. And then in addition to that, the war that I believe wants to break loose truly is an ushering in of World War III. I believe they want to do that. The spirit of Antichrist wants that. Is that an absolute? No, it is not. But I do see that being the plan of the enemy. Like, we're seeing the plan of the enemy. We're seeing what they want to bring forward. And I am definitely not a doom and gloom prophetic voice, but I do see dark things. And then we have to go to the Word of God. And I believe what we do, John, how we stand up in faith can alter these things. Because so many people say, one of my dear friends nicknames me the the joyful prophet of doom. And I was like, well, thank you very much. But what I see coming is very similar to Matthew 24, when Jesus said, and he's prophesying, hey, this is going to happen. The city's going to be surrounded. If you see these signs, get off your rooftop. Don't even go inside. Run for the hills and run now. And all these things were coming. And then he began to say, but pray that what you see coming, or when you see these things, that it doesn't happen in winter and it doesn't happen on a Sabbath. And I find that interesting that Jesus would say that. Pray that what happens doesn't happen at this time. And I found that interesting because I believe the Lord is saying to many of us that we think that this is a fatalistic prophetic society or a fatalistic words of the Lord, and it's not. The Lord is looking for our cooperation. He says things to us, not to scare us, but to prepare us. And we look at Acts chapter 11 when Agabus prophesied. He prophesied there'd be a famine coming, and the church didn't freak out. They sent aid. They immediately sent aid. Agabus said a famine's coming, and it happened in the days of Claudius Caesar. And then the church rose up and sent aid as a response to the prophetic word. And I believe they altered the narrative. Instead of it being a terrible time of starvation or what could come, the church sent aid. They were able to alter that prophetic gloom that was coming. And so I feel that what's coming over this next year, we're going to see a number of things, John. Number one, I believe we're going to see coastal fires in variety of ways, but I believe in the United States we'll see coastal fires. But I believe that means that we're going to see first in the natural, then in the spirit. And by coastal fires, I believe there will be indeed physical fires that break out. I think California is going to have something of that narrative. And then there's going to be revival fires, first in the natural, then in the spirit. We're going to see some of those things begin to happen. I believe for many people, this is a year of land, a year of land. This is really important. And why am I saying this? Because a lot of people have stepped into things. They were going to get inheritances, breakthroughs. Something was supposed to come to them. They had a promise in their heart. They had a promise from the Lord they were standing on. They've sowed like it. They've lived like it. And it hasn't manifested. And the Spirit of the Lord has been saying to me, it's been a demonic assault against people's God-given inheritances and things that belong to them. And I see a land transfer coming to many people, property ownership in the middle of a financial crisis. I see the Lord saying it's a paid in full victory time for those who've been faithful. Again, more in 24, even in the middle of economic issues, a year of land. I believe another thing that I've been praying about and I bring up quite often actually on my program, which we do every single day, I believe clearly there's going to be more and more of this narrative around aliens. Okay, now it's a weird thing to talk about, but we're going to see more of this alien narrative. It came out and it kind of went to the back burner, and I believe it's going to come back with a vengeance. UFO, UAP, aliens, we all came from other planets. We're seeded by these alien entities, and I think they're going to make more and more movies about it, all of it. But I believe, again, those are three things. One, it's either technology people are seeing in the sky. Two, it's holographic broadcasts they do through things like Project Bluebeam. Or three, it really is nefarious demonic activity that we're seeing in the sky. It could be all three. The point is there's no such thing as aliens, but there is things people are seeing, and it's legitimate stuff that people are encountering. I believe it's a last days deception that's going to get more and more prevalent the closer we get to the return of the Lord. And I believe this coming year, we're going to see that again. I also believe climate change is going to turn into, it's going to reach new levels that will be a religious status. They're going to use climate change. It's going to become almost like a religious cult-like belief, way beyond what we've seen. And it's going to be mechanized for the purposes of control on the culture. And the same way they tried to control us with all the things they did in 2020 with the Mark of the Beast precursor practice serum, John, they're going to begin to push this climate narrative, and it's going to have that same spirit behind it. I sense the word a great surprise is coming in the next year. And the surprise, what I mean by that, to define it further, I sense a great surprise is rising as if a balloon were growing and growing and growing and then burst. And then I saw this, an unexpected win or a surprise upset coming this next year, a surprise upset, and it will make a mark on institutionalism. a major mark on all institutionalism, a surprise upset that makes a mark. And then with that, and on the heels of that, I saw the word a purging in the business sector, in the arts sector, as more actors and icons are called out for misappropriation of their positions morally and influentially. And Bill Gates is another one that's going to have some things begin to come forward. I believe Bill Gates is going to unveil another new plan. And I hear the Spirit of the Lord saying, do not trust what that traitor puts out. And he's a traitor to all things righteous. And that's, and I don't know if you want to keep this in the broadcast or not, but I sense that's coming. And I think that's a very serious deal. So when I'm looking at this, though, but the good news that I sense, John, that I've been praying about is I keep seeing an awakening, like real Holy Spirit, raw spiritual horsepower is going to come on the scene. Real horsepower, the kind that's irrefutable. Power is going to get on display in a fresh way that people have not experienced in a generation. I believe it's going to get very, very strong, and we're going to see so many of these things happening. One of the big words God gave me is this word I've carried now ever since 2020. We've heard it for years in my spirit, but I'll give this word. Back in 2020, I saw mercy that would come to America when Roe v. Wade would be overturned. I went live on our broadcast. I said, Roe versus Wade will be overturned. I heard this in my spirit. I wrote it on the whiteboard back in 2020 that Roe v. Wade would be overturned by an unprecedented decision by the Supreme Court, and that it would be a political earthquake. That happened, and the Spirit of the Lord said, America will have more time. In addition to that, I've seen now what is rising and trying to manifest, and many prophetic voices are saying similar things suddenly. But since that year, I've been seeing this word Decapolis. Decapolis. The word Decapolis means 10 cities, and I see 10 cities symbolically that want to begin to burn at the same time. And I believe that's because of foreign adversaries, the open border issues, the way that this has been allowed. As a matter of fact, when you got a Manchurian candidate that's in office watching pretty balloons go and do figure eights over our military bases and only gunning them down when they get over the ocean, you got to ask the question, is he really bought and paid for by the Red Dragon? And I think yes is the answer. But that is what we're seeing. That was a precursor, I believe, to many of these cells that are trying to rise up and do nefarious, wicked activity in the United States. But I see Decapolis, 10 cities burning at once, and I keep hearing the Spirit of the Lord saying, this is not set. It does not have to be. We can stand up, we can push back against it, just like when Jesus said, pray that your flight does not happen on the Sabbath. Pray that it is not wintertime. He began to pray saying, you can change the narrative, at least on the timeline of these events. They may eventually come, but we can slow it down. We can turn the narrative. We are here. We're free moral agents. We can push back against this nefarious wickedness. I see this Antichrist agenda that wants to break loose out of the World Economic Forum, and yet I see a judgment coming against the World Economic Forum. I see the WHO trying to bring nefarious stuff and steal our sovereignty as a nation, and yet I see judgment coming against the WHO. I see the United Nations, which is actually more of an American scenario, trying to bring out its nefarious activity and really try to basically take America down and bring other nations in and foreign troops on U.S. soil. I've seen that, but I see that trying to rise, and I see a judgment being spoken against that. And the Spirit of the Lord is saying, if my people will cooperate, if we will pray, if we'll continue to be in our lane, be in our grace, be in our place where we're called to be, these things cannot just manifest freely because we're here. The ecclesia is here, John, and we can push this stuff back. It can stand up. I say it this way, the devil might come walking over, but he's going to go limping back, because when the kingdom of darkness begins to rise up, we can stand against this stuff and begin to see righteousness rise in the middle of all of it. I believe we're going to see another legislation, get this, for freedom tech. Because what I've sensed is, not just sensed it, you see it in the news right now currently, where you got I like to call it the Manchurian candidate administration is beginning to allow control over the internet again. They're getting legislated agreement where they're controlling the internet. That just happened last week. Where they're going to be able to dictate what can be said, what they deem worthy of, whether it's bias or not bias. They're going to deem what's what, and they're going to shut down freedom of speech like never before. And they're doing that obviously because we're coming into an election cycle.
Of course,
and when this begins to happen, I believe, John, we also will see a return of freedom tech. I see one more round for freedom tech. I saw it back in 2020 when it all got shut down. Things happened. The Lord spoke to us and said Elon and Twitter, and we prophesied that on our broadcast, Elon, Twitter, and then I saw Lindell, and we prophesied that. We began to declare that. Then I saw suppression coming again, and here it comes. But I do believe there will be another round of freedom tech. I don't know if that's through internet, satellite, how they're going to do it, but somebody's going to break free. Now, it could be a false flag that we get freedom for a time, only to bring us into captivity again. But I do sense freedom tech will get another voice yet. And I believe that'll come over the next year or so, where it's going to be suppressed, and then freedom will rise once again. So these things are coming. They want to begin to control water. I believe the word water is going to become a narrative, and we got to watch what's happening with our water. I think that's going to become a political mechanism. I believe people are going to begin to protest over water. Back before the farmers and the truckers rose up about a year and a half ago, the Spirit of the Lord showed us that about 3 months in advance, said now we've seen Southwest Airlines was standing against some of the agendas that these elites were pushing. And then I said, and the Spirit of the Lord showed us that the truckers would rise up. And I went live and I said, I see truckers all over rising up. Then the Freedom Convoy happened. And they went up against that dictator Trudeau, Castro's kid. They went up and they did that. And suddenly the truckers were shut down. And then the Lord said, now the farmers will rise. And the farmers rose up in the Netherlands. They rose up around. And right now, I'm just seeing such a great, great arising of people that will rise up against the water crisis that's coming. I sense an uprising against water crisis. And the water crisis is not so much that it'll be limited. I believe they're going to try to put a valve, so to speak, on water. They need to profit off water more, and they want to put something in water. And I don't understand this fully, but I know water is going to be a major talking point in the next season. And then we're going to begin looking for ways to purify water and try to make it so water. I believe here's something I see in my spirit, John. You have to discern it. Your audience can discern it. We know in part, we prophesy in part, but please discern this and you judge what the Lord is saying to you through this. But I believe they're going to say things like, keep water free. Keep water free. Keep the water free. Water is free. Or there's going to be some kind of slogan or campaign around keeping water free. So I see those kind of things coming, but I sense the greatest revival the world has ever seen.